From a young age, we learn to think of time as a line that moves forward. The past is behind us, the present is the only real point, and the future does not yet exist. This is the intuitive, emotional, and almost instinctive view that we hold. It is called the theory of time, and it's part of how we perceive the world in our daily lives. Time seems to flow. Moments seem to be born, exist, and then disappear forever. Memory confirms this. The past is out of reach, except as a recollection. Anxiety confirms this. The future is an unknown that hasn't yet happened. Everything seems very obvious, natural, non-negotiable. But what if this view, so obvious, is profoundly wrong? Modern philosophy and physics propose something far stranger and infinitely more disturbing. The B theory of time. According to her, time does not flow. There is no breakthrough from moment to moment. Instead, all moments exist equally, as different parts of a single block of reality. Past, present, and future are coexisting, just as different places coexist on a map. We are not in a privileged moment called now. We are perceiving a slice of time in the same way that we only see one side of an object while the others still exist outside our field of vision. This model is called eternalismo in the philosophy of physics. It receives support from theories such as Einstein's special relativity, where different observers may disagree on what constitutes the present. The implication is brutal. The past hasn't disappeared. The future is not something that is yet to exist. They are both already there, structured into the fabric of reality. What we call now is not a privileged position in time. It is merely the point on the block that our consciousness is perceiving. Imagine a book. You are reading a page now, but all the pages, those before and those after, already exist. The entire story is written. The fact that you are on page 58 doesn't make page 59 non-existent. It's there. You just haven't reached it yet. The universe can be like that. Time can be like that. And you, instead of being a being that traverses time, can be a being that it is written on it. The whole thing, from beginning to end, like a character inscribed in all its scenes. This idea destroys one of the most firmly established foundations of our experience. The belief that the present is real, that the past is gone, and the future is open. If the past still exists, then nothing is lost. If the future already exists, then there is something in you that it's already there. The shock lies not only in physics or logic. The blow is emotional, it's existential. Because if that's true, not only does time not flow, we are the ones who are mistaken about one's own way of existing. The first philosophical humiliation was realizing that the Earth is not the center of the universe. The second was discovering that we are the result of evolution, not the pinnacle of creation. The third option could be this. We are not moving through time. We are trapped within it. And everything we call immediate reality may only be a glimpse. You are not 3D. You are 4D. We tend to think of ourselves as three-dimensional bodies, height, width, and depth. This is how our senses register the world. We see shape, volume, surface. However, if the B theory of time is correct, this image is only a part of reality. Your existence is not limited to space. It also extends into time. You are not a three-dimensional object. You are being 4 dimensions. Imagine a line drawn on paper. If you only look at one point on that line, it will seem like just a point. But when you look away, you realize it's something longer, continuous, extended. That's you. Your life isn't an instant that appears and disappears. It's a temporal extension. Your birth, your present, and your future compose a single form. The feeling of being in a single moment is only the limited perspective of consciousness. Hermann Minkowski, a mathematician who worked alongside Einstein, described this clearly when proposing the concept of space-time. There is no absolute separation between space and time. They form a unified structure where each event has both spatial and temporal coordinates. The body you see in the mirror is only a slice of your total existence. Just as we only see one side of the moon, We only perceive the fraction of our being located in the present moment. Your various selves throughout life are not versions that have ceased to exist. They are different sections of the same temporal organism. Think of the you from 5 years ago. It's not just a memory, it's a real part of your existence in that time frame. The same is true for the you who hasn't yet lived. That future person isn't a plan, it's not just potential, it's an extension of your identity. Just as your hand continues to exist even when it's out of your field of vision, your future self already forms your totality. This completely changes how we understand growth, change, and identity. We are not beings that change with time. We are beings that occupy a trajectory in time. Development is not something that happens to a moving object. It is the very form of the object. The psychological consequence is profound. You were never just what you feel now. Your sadness from yesterday still exists in your timeline. Your future courage also exists. We are extended beings, traversed by layers of experiences that don't disappear. They simply belong to different coordinates of the block. Some describe it as if our lives were an entire recorded film, but our minds could only watch one frame at a time. When you remember the past, you are consulting another part of that same film. When you imagine the future, your mind tries to access the portion of the film that has not yet been projected onto the screen of the present. This can bring comfort or unease, depending on the perspective. If your sad future already exists, it may seem imprisoning. However, if your strong, lucid, and conscious future already exists, then there is also a continuity of potential within you. The question is not which version is real, they all are. The question is understanding that consciousness is what moves within this framework, and not the framework that alters itself to accommodate consciousness. We live as if we were small, isolated moments, but the truth may be different. We are full figures, imprinted on the structure of space-time. We are not only who we are now, we are all that we were and all that we will be, coexisting silently within the temporal dimension that sustains existence. Intuition tells you that you are only this moment. Physics suggests that you are a single line. Philosophy asks, are you prepared to see yourself completely? The existential consequences. Free will under threat. If time doesn't flow and all the moments of your life coexist in space-time, a conclusion becomes inevitable. What you call choice may not be something that happens spontaneously now. It may only be the visible part of a process already inscribed in the structure of your existence. Free will, from this perspective, ceases to be a creative force and becomes a point of observation. You wouldn't be choosing the path. You would only be perceiving the stretch of the path where your consciousness finds itself. The mind immediately resists this idea. There's a visceral force within us that insists, I choose. I decide. I could have done differently. This feeling is so intense that we rarely question it. However, the feeling of choice is not proof of choice. Just as feeling the sun moving in the sky doesn't prove that the sun actually moves. The feeling is an interpretation, not reality itself. If your future already exists somewhere within the timeline, then what you will do tomorrow is already there. Your regrets, your achievements, your fears overcome or not overcome already compose your total form. This doesn't mean you are a puppet without free will. It means that your free will is part of the structure of the universe in the same way that your anatomy is. Your decision is not annulled. It is simply not something that happens outside the natural order. The decision is a piece of the design itself. Many wonder, if everything is already determined, why does it still make sense to act? Because acting is the very phenomenon that constructs the timeline that already exists. The fact that the track is laid doesn't mean the train isn't moving. It only means that the movement follows a comprehensible path, even when we don't see it. Life doesn't lose intensity by recognizing this. It only loses the illusion of absolute control. There is also a profound emotional impact. Imagining that the future is already defined can generate a feeling of imprisonment. However, this view can produce the opposite. If your trajectory already contains a stronger, more mature, more conscious version of yourself, then this version is not something distant or hypothetical. It is part of who you already are in a different temporal coordinate. Growth ceases to be the creation of nothing and becomes the revelation of what is already inscribed. This perspective transforms responsibility. It's no longer about striving to build an identity as if it were a project to be invented. It's about bringing your current consciousness closer to the highest part of your own existential line. Instead of thinking, I can be better, the question becomes, how willing am I to reach the part of myself that already knows how to live better? The threat to free will does not destroy the meaning of action. It reveals the depth of what acting truly means. Your choices matter not because they create the future from scratch, but because they are the way your consciousness traverses the already existing structure of your life. The decision is real. It's just not isolated. It's part of a complete temporal organism. When you make a decision today, you are not choosing between two possible futures. You are finding the point where your will, your history, and your temporal form align. The act of deciding is the moment when your consciousness touches the reality of what you have always been. That is why free will does not disappear. It only changes meaning. It is not force that creates the path. It is lucidity that recognizes where the path was all along. From determinism to superdeterminism. If the idea that the future already exists threatens free will, the next step makes everything even more radical. The notion that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens by chance. Here we enter the field of determinism, and in its most extreme form, the superdeterminism. Classical determinism states that every event in the universe is a direct consequence of previous events. If you knew the position and speed of every atom in the cosmos, you could perfectly predict everything that will happen. This is based on Newtonian mechanics, the universe as a precise machine governed by clear laws. Sources: Laplace, Pierre Simon, A Philosophical Essay on Probabilities, 1814. Sean Carroll, The Big Picture, 2016. In this model, the feeling of randomness is simply ignorance. Just as a coin toss seems unpredictable until one understands the force of the hand, the angle, the wind, and friction, everything in the universe seems uncertain only because we do not know the initial conditions with infinite resolution. But throughout the 20th century, something shook this picture: quantum physics. Suddenly, fundamental particles began to behave as probabilities, not as definite objects. Electrons are not in one place, but could be. The universe, in its smallest components, seemed to contain true randomness. And this is where most people conclude, chance exists, therefore not everything is predetermined. But there is a counter-theory, rare, uncomfortable, almost forbidden, that challenges this conclusion: superdeterminism. He claims that this apparent randomness is simply the result of variables that we have not yet been able to observe. In other words, even what we call quantum probability is determined. No event is spontaneous. Nothing is accidental. Not even what appears random in the core of matter. Your thought now might be, but if even quantum fluctuation is determined, then all my choices would be too. Yes, that's exactly the implication. Superdeterminism doesn't eliminate free will. It redefines its nature. Your decision to get out of bed, send a message, hesitate, act, or retreat doesn't arise the moment you feel you are choosing. It's part of a causal chain that began long before you existed as an individual, not just before your childhood, but before the formation of the planet that sustains its life. You are the living result of trillions of interconnected interactions, each affecting the next. Your desires, your personality, your inclinations, everything emerges from this network. And here is the existential point. When you make a decision, that decision, it's not an illusion. She is real, but it is not free in the sense of arising from nothing. She is the consequence of everything you are, and everything you are has been shaped by a story much bigger than you. Acknowledging this might seem strange. It can give the feeling that we are living an inevitable script. But there is another way to look at it. If everything is connected and everything follows a universal coherence, then you are not an accident. You are necessary. Your journey is not something that happens by chance. It is part of a cosmic dance of which you are a unique expression. Nothing about you is superfluous. Nothing about you is by luck. Nothing about you is pure coincidence. You are the path the universe has found to become conscious of itself in a specific form. And that form, you, exists not only in space, but also in time, whole, extended, coherent. Superdeterminism does not shorten your life. It reveals its depth, the illusion of chance, and the mind that reacts to discomfort. The idea that nothing is random doesn't just challenge scientific concepts. It challenges something much more intimate, how we deal with the very meaning of life. When we believe in chance, we feel there's room for improvisation, for freedom, for the possibility that something unexpected might arise and change everything. This belief acts as an emotional cushion. It sustains the feeling that the future is malleable, open, and dependent on our will. But if superdeterminism is true, chance disappears. And not only in the grand structures of the universe, but in the small things. That message you decided to send, the person you met by chance, the idea that came to you while looking out the window. All of this may not have been an accident. It may have been merely the manifestation of prior conditions that you don't perceive. This touches on a painful point. We believe we are the authors of our own story, when perhaps we are readers of a book already written within the structure of time. The mind resists. It wants to protect this feeling of ownership. Not because we are deliberately deceiving ourselves, but because this feeling is useful. It creates movement, desire, curiosity. Blindly abandoning it can lead to paralysis. That's why, when someone suggests that our choices are already predetermined, the first reaction is usually emotional rejection, not rational reflection. We don't discuss the idea. We feel it threatens something essential. One of the central principles of cognitive psychology clearly illustrates this. When a belief is fundamental to a person's emotional balance, it is defended as if it were part of their own body. Therefore, when we hear that the future already exists and that chance is merely ignorance, the immediate impulse is to say, that can't be right. Rejection comes before analysis. It's as if we were guarding our front door without knowing what's on the other side. We confuse preserving comfort with preserving truth. But philosophical truth is rarely comfortable. Since Socrates, philosophy has demanded this act of courage, to look at what we prefer not to see. Perhaps the idea that everything is connected by a perfect causal chain does not diminish our freedom. Perhaps it only explains it, because if your choices are determined by your experiences, values, and understanding, they are still yours. Your decision doesn't cease to be a decision just because it has roots. The fact that a tree grows from a seed doesn't eliminate the tree's beauty. The big turning point is this. Our resistance to determinism doesn't stem from logical arguments, but from fear. Fear that if we don't create the future from nothing, then nothing we do matters. However, the importance of something lies not in its origin, but in its effect. You don't need to create the universe for your life to have meaning. You just need to live it consciously. The search for truth demands that we be able to endure a certain degree of discomfort. And it is precisely in this discomfort that lucidity is born. Perhaps chance is merely the name we give to what we do not yet understand. And perhaps understanding this is the first step towards a freedom that does not depend on the illusion of control, but on clarity about who we are within the larger structure of reality. What does it mean to live knowing this? If past, present, and future coexist, if your life is an entire line already inscribed in the fabric of time, and if your choices emerge from profound causes that you do not fully control, the inevitable question is, how can we live knowing this? What changes in the way we wake up, decide, love, build, make mistakes, or start over? The first temptation is to fall into fatalism, to think that if everything is already written, then nothing is worthwhile. This is a hasty interpretation, born more from emotional discomfort than from clear thinking. The question is not whether the future is predetermined. The question is, how does consciousness traverse this future? Your experience is real. Your pain is real. Your courage is real. Your responsibility is also real. You are within the timeline, and the timeline only gains meaning through how you live it. It's not about choosing between freedom and destiny. The point is to recognize that your freedom is not absolute, but located. You don't choose the board, but you choose the moves within it. You don't create the wind, but you adjust the sails. This awareness can gradually produce two fundamental transformations. Humility. You are not the center of the universe. You are not the author of everything you experience. Your story is part of a much broader network of causes, lives, legacies, languages, pains, and times. This dissolves the narcissistic ego that insists on controlling everything. Serenity. If the future already exists in some form, then the parts of you that haven't yet matured already have a place. The fear of not becoming who you need to be loses its power. The anxiety about controlling tomorrow diminishes in intensity. Living ceases to be an effort to create something from scratch and becomes a movement of alignment with what already exists in its highest form. What changes is the relationship with time. Living is no longer a race, a competition against the clock, a desperate attempt to grasp what seems to be slipping away. Living becomes the art of following your own path with clarity, care, and presence. Patience ceases to be passivity. Discipline ceases to be oppression. Change ceases to be disruption. Everything becomes recognition. You don't become a new person. You encounter the part of yourself that was ahead in time. This understanding can also produce compassion. If each person is living a trajectory inscribed in their own timeline, then each failure, each fear, each destructive impulse carries a story. This makes us less judgmental, less rigid, less inclined to point the finger. A perspective grows within us that doesn't demand perfection, only understanding. And this is where the final reflection comes in. Philosophy has never been about choosing comfortable beliefs. It has always been about learning to look at reality, even when reality demands courage. If time is a block, if life is a structure, if our choices already belong to the order of the cosmos, then living well doesn't mean controlling everything. It means waking up to who we are within this. Consciousness does not change the fabric of time. It changes the way we walk through it. Ultimately, the question is not, do I have free will or not? The question is, can I live with enough presence to be true to the highest part of myself that already exists? This answer is not theoretical. It is experienced in the way you breathe, decide, observe, and act. Your life is already entirely within time. The question is whether her conscience will catch up with her.